It's 3:17 in the morning. I know because I've been staring at the ceiling since 2:45, and somewhere in this room, my phone screen lit up with the time before I turned it face down. The silence in this apartment is so thick you could choke on it. The stack of bills on the kitchen table. The email I got yesterday afternoon, we regret to inform you, the fifth one this month. The way my bank account looks like a countdown clock. I lie here and I pray. At least, I try to. The words feel like they're leaving my mouth and hitting the ceiling about 6 inches above my face, then falling back down on me like dust. The loneliness in moments like this isn't just about being physically alone. It's the creeping suspicion that maybe you've been left unread by God Himself. That maybe you missed your window. That maybe the plan He has for you got lost in the mail while everyone else got their assignment and moved on. But here's where it gets real. I want to ask you something. Not a rhetorical church question with a tidy answer. A real one. Have you ever felt like God is silent? Not absent, just silent. Like He's in the room but not speaking. Like He's watching you struggle and choosing to say nothing. That's where I've been living lately. And I know some of you have been living there too, because nobody talks about this part of faith. That was last week. Friday. 4:45 p.m. The interview had ended at 4 o'clock, but I sat in my car for 45 minutes because I couldn't make myself turn the key. And then the door didn't just close, it slammed. And in that parking lot, a thought crept in. It didn't announce itself loudly. It just slipped in like a shadow under the door. What if God's plan for me isn't good? What if I'm out here trusting someone who's not really paying attention? What if the promises are for other people, the ones who get married, have kids, buy houses, get promotions, and I'm just background noise? Let me tell you about the mirror moment. Because this is where it gets uncomfortable, and maybe you'll see yourself in it. I have friends. Good friends. Friends I love. And I watch their lives unfold on social media like a highlight reel I wasn't cast in. Engagements. Baby announcements. New job posts with the obligatory, "I'm thrilled to announce," caption. House keys held up in front of front doors. And I'm genuinely happy for them, I am. But there's this other feeling that sits right next to the happiness. It's jealousy. I hate admitting that. It sounds so petty, so unspiritual. But it's there. A quiet, bitter whisper that says, why them and not me? Have I not been faithful? Have I not served? Have I not tithed, shown up early, stayed late, prayed hard, believed longer? And then the jealousy brings a friend, doubt. Doubt about whether God is fair. Doubt about whether my faith is even working. Doubt about whether I'm doing something wrong, or worse, whether I'm being punished for something I can't even remember. This is the part of the Christian life nobody posts on Instagram. The parking lot. The 3 a.m. ceiling stare. The stack of bills. The cold coffee. The prayer that feels like it bounced. The jealousy you're ashamed to name. The doubt you're scared to voice because what if saying it out loud makes it true? But here's what happened next. And this is the first thread of hope I'd felt in days. I was cleaning out a drawer last Saturday, one of those, I need to do something productive or I'll lose my mind, cleaning sessions. And I found an old envelope. My grandmother's handwriting. She passed away 6 years ago, and I'd kept a few of her letters but forgotten about this one. Inside was a small card, yellowed at the edges, with a single Bible verse written in her careful, shaky cursive. Revelation chapter 3, verse 8. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I sat down on the floor. Right there, surrounded by old receipts and random keys that don't unlock anything I own anymore. And I read it again. An open door that no one can shut. Now, I'm not going to gaslight you and tell you that suddenly everything made sense. It didn't. The bills were still on the table. The rejection emails were still in my inbox. My friends were still getting married and promoted. But something shifted. A tiny crack in the darkness. Because I realized, maybe for the first time, that a closed door isn't the same thing as abandonment. In fact, what if some of the doors I've been pounding on, the ones that stayed shut, were never meant to open? What if the silence of God isn't absence, but protection? What if the delay isn't denial, but redirection? I'm not saying this because it's a nice Christian slogan. I'm saying it because I'm still in the middle of it. I don't have the job yet. I don't have the answers. But I have this card in my grandmother's handwriting, and I have this stubborn, flickering thought that maybe, just maybe, the doors that closed were not rejection letters. They were guardrails. Here's a truth I'm learning to carry, and I want you to carry it too. Sometimes a closed door isn't there to reject you. It's there to protect you from a room you were never meant to enter. And I know that doesn't pay the bills or erase the loneliness. But it does something else. It lets you stop blaming yourself for doors you couldn't force open. It lets you stop rehearsing the interview answers you should have given. It lets you stop comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Because what if the God who sees the whole floor plan, every room, every hallway, every dead end, what if he's not ignoring you? What if he's guiding you, even through the closed doors, toward the one that has your name on it? But here's the question I still wrestle with, the one that keeps me up at 3 a.m. even with my grandmother's card on the nightstand. How do you keep believing when week after week nothing changes? When the prayer stays unanswered? When the door stays shut? When the silence stretches from days into months? Monday morning. Same alarm. Same ceiling. Same stack of bills on the kitchen table that I've been rearranging like some kind of broke person origami. My phone sat there on the nightstand, screen dark, no new notifications, no missed calls, no, we'd like to move forward email that I'd been refreshing for 3 weeks straight. But something was different. Not the circumstances, those were still a dumpster fire. Something in me. A tiny flicker of defiance. Or maybe just exhaustion with my own patterns. I reached for my phone, not to check email, not to scroll through LinkedIn seeing people announce their new jobs with those humble brag I'm thrilled to share. Posts that make you want to throw your phone into traffic. Instead, I opened my Bible app. First time in weeks I didn't start the day by begging the internet to tell me my worth. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that reading the Psalms suddenly made the bills disappear or the rejection emails evaporate. It didn't. What it did was worse, honestly. It made me feel my feelings instead of numbing them with busyness. You ever have one of those moments where you're just driving, not thinking about anything, and then a memory hits you so hard you have to pull over? That was me Tuesday afternoon. I was taking the long way home, the route that accidentally goes past the hospital where my dad spent his last 3 months. I could have turned. I didn't. I drove right past the parking garage where I sat in my car every night at 8:15, eating vending machine crackers, trying to pray but mostly just staring at the steering wheel. And I remembered those prayers. The desperate ones. The ones where I claimed every healing verse I knew, where I declared and decreed and bound and loosed and did all the spiritual warfare vocabulary I had in my arsenal. And he still died. So here's the question that's been living in my chest rent-free ever since: is God still good when the answer is no? When the healing doesn't come? When the door doesn't open? When the silence stretches from days into months, from months into a grave? I don't have a tidy answer. I'm not going to give you some polished Sunday school explanation. But I will tell you what I'm learning, slowly, painfully, like pulling shards of glass out of a wound. Psalm 5 verse 12 says this, "Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous, you surround them with your favor as with a shield." Now, I used to read that verse and think it meant God was going to give me everything I wanted. Favor equals getting the job. Favor equals the relationship. Favor equals the breakthrough I've been praying for. But that's not what a shield does. A shield doesn't hand you things. A shield blocks things. What if some of the no's I've been grieving were actually God's favor? What if that job I didn't get would have destroyed my mental health? What if that relationship I cried over would have pulled me away from my faith? What if the closed doors weren't rejection letters, they were guardrails keeping me from driving off a cliff I couldn't see? I sat in that hospital parking lot, not in the garage this time, but in the visitor's lot outside, engine running, heat on low, and I let myself ask the scary question. God, are you actually good? Like, for real? Not the worship song version. Not the Instagram caption version. In real life, when it hurts, are you good? And the answer didn't come as a voice. It came as a memory. My grandmother's hands. The same hands that wrote that card I found in the drawer. Her hands folding in prayer at that hospital bedside, tears rolling down, voice shaking, saying, "Lord, we trust you. Even now. Even if." She didn't get her miracle either. But she got something else. She got a faith that was forged in fire, not built on cotton candy promises. Here's the mirror moment. Right now. I want you to sit in this with me. Maybe you've got a promise God gave you years ago that still hasn't happened. Maybe you've cried in your car too. Maybe you've screamed at the ceiling. Maybe you've watched people around you get the very thing you've been praying for, and you smiled and congratulated them while something inside you died a little. Maybe you've wondered if you did something wrong, if you're being punished, if God forgot your address. You're not crazy. You're not faithless. You're human. And God can handle your questions. He's not threatened by your doubt. The Psalms are full of people yelling at God, and those prayers made it into the Bible. That tells me something. God would rather have your honest rage than your fake praise. Here's a truth I'm gripping with white knuckles today: the delay is not a punishment. The waiting is not a waste. God is not up there tapping his watch, forgetting about you, distracted by someone more important. He's ordering things. Arranging pieces you can't see. Building a version of you that can actually carry the blessing when it comes, because if he gave it to you right now, in your current state, you might not survive it. The shield of Psalm 5 verse 12 isn't just blocking attacks. It's blocking premature opportunities. Almost right doors. Things that look like breakthroughs but are actually traps. The favor of God sometimes looks like a closed door and a silent heaven, because he's protecting you from a room you were never meant to enter. Waiting isn't punishment. It's preparation. God doesn't waste time, he uses it to build the person who can handle the blessing that's coming. Now, let me tell you what happened next. Because the story doesn't end in that parking lot. And if you're still breathing, your story isn't over either. If you dare believe this week will be different, type in the comments. I'm going to stop the analysis here and shift into something different. Not a breakdown. Not a teaching. But a prayer. Because sometimes you've thought about it long enough. Sometimes you've cried enough. Sometimes you've replayed the disappointment enough times that your soul is tired of its own reruns. I knelt down beside my bed. Not in some dramatic, movie scene kind of way. Just slowly. Quietly. The way you do when you're too tired to stand and too honest to pretend anymore. And I prayed. Not the polished kind. Not the kind you put on a stage. The kind where your voice cracks and you don't even finish sentences because God already knows what you're trying to say. Heavenly Father, I come to you this morning with everything I've been carrying, and I'm finally ready to put some of it down. I surrender them. Not because I'm strong enough to let go, but because I'm too exhausted to keep gripping them so tightly. Lord, I need wisdom. Real wisdom. Not just smart ideas dressed up as discernment. I need to know the difference between a door you've opened and a door that's just there. A distraction wearing a convincing costume. An opportunity that looks like breakthrough but leads to burnout. Because I've walked through the wrong doors before. I've mistaken my own ambition for your direction. I've confused people-pleasing with purpose. And I don't want to do that again. This is the part where I have to be honest. I'm scared. I'm scared of failing again. I'm scared of hoping again and having hope collapse on me. I'm scared that this week will just be another repeat of last week, same ceiling, same silence, same stack of bills, same unanswered questions. But I'm choosing something different right now. I'm choosing trust. Not because I feel trusting. Not because my emotions are suddenly aligned. But because I know, deep down, beneath the fear, beneath the doubt, beneath the noise, I know you've never actually abandoned me. Not once. Not when it felt like it. Not when I couldn't see you working. Not even when I was angry at you in that parking lot. And right now, I'm not just praying for myself. I'm praying for the person listening to this. The one who's tired. The one who's lonely in a crowded room. The one who's been faking, I'm fine, for so long they've forgotten what honest feels like. The one who's this close to giving up, on a dream, on a relationship, on a calling, on believing that things can actually change. God, meet them where they are. Not where they pretend to be. Not where they wish they were. Where they actually are. In the car. In the break room. On the floor of the bathroom. In the dark at 3 a.m. staring at nothing. You see them. You haven't forgotten their address. Here's what I want you to do. Not because it's a magic trick. Not because writing words on paper changes anything by itself. But because sometimes your soul needs your body to act before your feelings catch up. It's what some of us call a prophetic act of faith, a physical declaration that you're choosing to believe before you see the evidence. Take a piece of paper. Or open a note on your phone. And write this down. Write it like you mean it. Even if you're not sure you do yet. This week, I am walking in divine favor and supernatural alignment. God is ordering my steps, opening the right doors, closing the wrong ones, and giving me wisdom to know the difference. Now put that somewhere you'll see it. Tape it to your mirror. Stick it on your computer monitor. Make it your lock screen. Let it be the first thing your eyes catch when the doubt creeps back in, because it will. Doubt always circles back. But so does grace. And if you're still here, if you've listened this far, I want to invite you to do something simple. Hit like on this video. Subscribe to this channel. Not for the algorithm, but as your own prophetic act. As a way of saying, with your thumb, with your screen, with this moment, I'm choosing to believe. I'm choosing trust over panic. I'm choosing faith over fear. This week will be different. Not because my circumstances have changed yet, but because I'm changing my posture. Let me leave you with this. It's something I'm still learning. Something I have to remind myself of constantly. The peace of God is not fragile like human emotions. It's not a feeling that comes and goes based on what your inbox says or what your bank account shows or whether someone finally calls you back. It's a divine calm. A supernatural stillness. An anchor that holds even when the storm hasn't stopped. You can have peace and still have problems. You can have peace and still not have answers. You can have peace and still be waiting. Because God's peace doesn't depend on everything being fixed. It depends on knowing the one who's holding you while everything else is being put back together. You are not walking into this week confused, abandoned, or defeated. You are being led, step by step, moment by moment, conversation by conversation, by the one who already knows the way. The one who sees the whole map while you can only see the next 3 feet. And he is faithful. Even now. Especially now. May the Lord open doors for you this week that no one can shut. May He close doors that were never meant for you, even the ones that look good, even the ones you wanted, even the ones you cried over when they didn't open. And may He give you supernatural wisdom to know the difference between the two. May you walk in favor you didn't earn and peace you can't explain. May you see His faithfulness in ways that leave no room for doubt. This week, you will not be forgotten. You will not be overlooked. You will not be abandoned. Amen. Let that sit for a moment. Let the silence do its work. You don't need to rush to the next thing. You don't need to fill the space with noise. Just breathe. He's got you. He's always had you. And He's not letting go now.